It's good, you know. I mean, it can't hurt, you know. Even no matter what they say, it can't hurt unless it's like devilish, you know, evil, you know, evilly bad. Um,
Ready to share the terrible truth about his late buddy Corey Haim, which revolves around two adolescent heartthrobs, a dark Hollywood secret, and accusations that will rock you to your very core. Corey Feldman is from Michael Jackson to Charlie Sheen. Feldman's devastating allegations can be leveled against anyone. No one protected from them exists. Still, which finding most disturbs you? You will be ready for this video once you have finished viewing it. Corey Feldman and Corey Haim became the dynamic pair every young person looked up to and idolized in the glittering 1980s Hollywood scene. Their trip started on the 1987 release of the cult classic film The Lost Boys. On the sets, they are the two Coreys. When Feldman and Haim were barely 14 and 15 years old, they developed a connection that would eventually define their careers and permanently change their path of life. With their rebellious and edgy personalities, which captured the cool of the late 1980s, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim became the height of teen pop culture. Their meteoric climb to popularity happened in a brief span, working together. The first movie The Lost Boys produced was more than just a picture. It was the beginning of a dynamic relationship between the two entities. Joel Schumacher's Lost Boys, which had a story about teenage vampires assaulting a small town in California, was not just another horror movie. Rather, it was a cult classic that defined the genre by combining comedy with horror in an engaging storyline. The way Feldman and Haim portrayed vampire hunters highlighted their unique appeal, a relationship that viewers connected with, and finally helped the movie to be financially successful. Their on-screen connection helped them to become teenage idols practically right away after it was started, riding the tsunami of success. The Lost Boys encountered. The two Coreys evolved from a couple to a brand. Their popularity grew, and this led to more projects they collaborated on, so strengthening their reputation as a popular teenage team. Their on-screen relationship and a chance to highlight their exceptional comic timing were further highlighted in 1988 when they starred in the teen comedy License to Drive, still another major hit. The movie won praise from critics as well as financial success, therefore confirming its appeal among younger viewers. 1 year later, in 1989, they got back together to create Dream a Little Dream, a romantic fantasy picture that, although getting mixed reviews, became a fan favorite among their most committed viewers. Still, as their careers developed, dark clouds began to gather around them. Both Feldman and Haim were battling drug abuse at the start of the 1990s, which tarnished their public reputation and affected their work output. Even if they were quite successful, the pressures of celebrity and the party life in Hollywood started to wear on them. Corey Haim faced some sad difficulties. His battle with addiction was well documented, and he regularly spoke candidly and upfront about it at different points. Apart from the reality of being a child star, Haim's early popularity set off a downhill spiral of treatment stays and relapses that significantly damaged his career. He was a young star, hence this spiral resulted from that. His later career was marked by a run of low-budget films that never quite matched the success of his earlier creations. Corey Feldman was also facing his personal issues. Though less well-known, his struggles with addiction were yet no less important as those of others. Feldman's battles with legal problems and drug abuse came to a head in 1990 when she was arrested for heroin possession. This arrest acted as a sobering reminder of their dwindling distance. In order to start over with his career, Feldman finally sought recovery and put great effort into separating himself from his challenging past. He was resolved to turn his life around and finally followed the required actions. Though the two Coreys were no more in public view, their future project, like Dream a Little Dream 2 and Blown Away, lacked the same degree of appeal as their past works. Once-loved teenage stars started to be connected to claims of drug abuse and legal problems, and as a result, their Hollywood professional reputation dropped. Feldman and Haim tried one more time to reclaim the grandeur they had earlier attained as the new millennium started. Their friendships and careers while also handling the consequences of their stormy pasts. The show presented a candid and often terrible look into their personal problems. The program especially highlighted Haim's continuous struggle with addiction, as well as the conflicts that had tested their close relationship. Though it started off really well, the program soon became a mirror of their unresolved problems. Tensions both on-screen and off-screen grew, leading to a well-documented split and a 6-month interval separating the first from the second seasons of the show. It was clear by the time the second season aired that their friendship was severely strained, and their attempts to mend it finally failed. Though they seemed to be separated from one another on television, Feldman and Haim were able to mend in private before Haim's tragic death. Having shared the highs and lows of Hollywood together, the two friends reconciled their disagreements at last. Since then, Feldman has shown his great love for Haim in spite of their difficulties together. Their relationship, which started in the turbulent field of child fame, stayed one and unchangeable even if their paths in life changed. Sadly, their reconciliation came at a moment when it could have stopped Haim from fighting addiction going forward. Haim was trying to turn his life around. However, he struggled with the painkillers he was prescribed. March 10, 2010, saw the loss of Haim, 38 years old. Although at first an overdose was believed to be the cause of death, the coroner finally decided that Haim had died of pneumonia, a condition exacerbated by his emaciated state resulting from years of drug abuse. After Haim passed away, Corey Feldman paid homage to the man he had known all his life and publicly expressed his grief. He said he was deeply depressed about the death of Haim, and underlined that he wished Haim would be remembered for his happiness and great talent, rather than for the hardships he went through. Feldman's extremely poignant memorial was evidence of the great impact Haim had on people who were lucky enough to meet him, as well as the legacy he left behind in the hearts of supporters who valued him. Sexual allegations made by Feldman. Over the years following the untimely death of Corey Haim, Corey Feldman has adopted a new role as a vocal supporter. He claims almost destroyed him by exposing the sinister underbidders of Hollywood. Openly sharing his experiences with sexual assault, Feldman has said that child abuse is a widespread and sneaky problem in the entertainment business. He has also talked on his personal encounters with sexual assault. He has said in public that he also suffered from this mistreatment. He has come out to say he experienced torture at the hands of numerous people while a young actor. One of the first people Feldman mentioned when he first started accusing others was someone he first called Ron Crimson. At last, Feldman disclosed the name of the person employing this alias, Cloyd John Grissom, an actor who had formerly served as personal secretary for Feldman's father. Feldman claims that Grissom not only physically attacked him, but also had a major influence in exposing him to drug use at a really young age, a risky behavior. Published in 2013, Feldman's book Choreography detailed these horrific events. In it, he gave a frank and complete account of the mistreatment he suffered, as well as the terrible impact it had on his career and life. Grissom, though, was not the only person Feldman cited in his writings. Furthermore, he leveled accusations against several well-known Hollywood personalities, including child agent Marty Weiss and Alfie Hoffman, who had formerly been a talent agency and owned an underage club in Hollywood known as Alfie's Soda Pop Club. Regular attendees of this club, which was a popular venue in the 1980s, were several young actors like Feldman and Haim. Feldman's claims state Hoffman sexually assaulted her when she was employed there. These disclosures have generated public debate, not without reason. Feldman visited The View in October 2013 in order to promote his book, Choreography. Strong criticism greeted his comments about the widespread mistreatment of youngsters working in the entertainment business. When one of the show's hosts, Barbara Walters, accused Feldman's claims of negatively impacting the entire company they were targeted against, a contentious debate erupted. Though many of the men Feldman mentioned, including Marty Weiss, had already been suspected of or even found guilty of crimes comparable to those Feldman alleged they committed, her claims were treated with scorn. The criticism he has gotten has not detrimented Feldman. He has kept looking for what he claims to be a clandestine network of abusers in the Hollywood business. Following the October 2017 Harvey Weinstein affair, which spurred Feldman to start an ambitious Indiegogo campaign, interest in his activities revived. aiming to raise $10 million to assist fundraising for the documentary-style film that would chronicle his life and highlight the horrors he and other child performers saw. The campaign sought to Feldman aimed to utilize the movie as a venue to highlight the systematic cover-ups he claims to be common in the entertainment business and uncover the identities of people who had mistreated him. The campaign was also greeted with harsh criticism, although the enormous attention and support it attracted. Critics questioned the significant fundraising goal. At the same time, they questioned Feldman's choice to reveal his abusers via a film instead of via legal methods. Moreover, Feldman justified his approach by saying that the documentary would not only be a potent exposé, but also a necessary tool in increasing awareness and shielding the next generations of child performers from going through the same crimes he and Haim did. Apart from his job in the film business, Corey Feldman has also brought his advocacy to the political scene. Standing in front of legislators at the New York State Capitol in Albany, he gave an emotional address in March of 2018 endorsing the Child Victims Act. This important piece of legislation sought to extend the statute of limitations for civil claims linked to child sexual abuse. It would give survivors a one-year window where they may submit claims previously forbidden. By means of his involvement in this campaign, Feldman demonstrated his commitment to not just narrating his own narrative, but also advocating justice on behalf of all those who have survived sexual abuse directed against minors. 2020. Documentary by Feldman, My Truth. While presenting shocking claims regarding the sexual assault Feldman and his late co-star Corey Haim allegedly underwent as child actors in Hollywood, this divisive documentary called My Truth, The Rape of Two Corey Feldman, explores extensively their friendship. My Truth makes the most shocking allegation. Actor Charlie Sheen physically attacked 13-year-old Corey Haim. According to Feldman, the attack took place on the Lucas set for the 1986 film where Haim and Sheen also starred. These claims were not fresh. It reiterated a 2017 allegation made by actor Dominic Brascia, who told the National Enquirer that Sheen had sexually harassed Haim during Lucas's filming. In My Truth, Feldman sought to strengthen this claim yet further. Both ex-wife Susie Feldman and co-star Jameson Newlander from Feldman's Lost Boys supported his statements in the documentary. Relating their experiences and interactions with Haim, they validated Feldman's claims that he had confided in them about the abuse and that it had profoundly affected his life. Charlie Sheen angrily called the claims made in response by his agent rude, twisted, and absurd, claiming that he never had any inappropriate relations with Corey Haim and that the claims are entirely made up. Sheen has consistently maintained his innocence. To complicate things even worse, Judy Haim, Corey's mother, publicly denied Feldman's charges leveled against Sheen. Judy Haim claimed in an interview on Entertainment Tonight and on The Doctor, Oz show, that her son was not raped by Charlie Sheen, therefore refuting the allegations. Rather, she pointed out Dominic Brascia as the man mistreating her child. Judy Haim said, "Dominic mistreated my son. This is what my son said." Brascia challenged Judy Haim's assertions in an interview with Perez Hilton. Astonished at the claim, he added, "It's totally not true. Haim was one of my good friends. So I'm as astonished as everyone else. I have known him for 25 years or so." Brascia's denial further entrenched the web of accusations, counter-accusations, and denials enveloping Corey Haim's story for years. Judy Haim presented a horrifying account of the abuse her son claimed to have experienced from Dominic Brascia. She recalled that Feldman had presented Haim to several business associates, while young actors navigating the early stages of their careers. Among these was Brascia, who joined Corey Haim's 1980s social group. Judy Haim's narrative centers on an incident she claims occurred in Brascia's apartment in Studio City, California, where he lived near the Haim family. Often visiting Brascia's residence to relax, watch TV, and play pool were Corey Haim and friends. These meetings seemed benign enough, but Judy says they developed into the backdrop for something much darker. Judy related a certain day she received a scared, screaming, and yelling phone call from Corey Haim. Her son told her Brascia, apparently on top of him, wouldn't let him leave. Startled, Judy rushed over to Brassia's place and stated she found her fully dressed Brassia pinning Corey to the floor, unwilling to let him go. Judy caught the scenario brilliantly. Dominic was seated on his child, keeping him to the ground, not letting him move. To protect her son, Judy grabbed a billiard cue and furiously challenged Brassia. She replied, "I took a pool cue and he will remember that. I remember the intense moment." And I yelled, "You better get off from him. I'm bashing your head in," immediately close to his head. Judy says that this confrontation was enough to allow Brassia to free Corey, therefore allowing their safe leaving from the farm. Judy Haim said even further that there were other instances of mistreatment on at least one previous visit to that same location. She claimed Brassia had sexually abused Corey. She did not, however, go into greater detail about the additional incident, perhaps out of respect for her son's recollections or because of the anguish required in recalling such awful experiences. Her allegations indicate Brassia's predatory actions, which capitalized on his close proximity to Corey and others. Judy has expressed dissatisfaction with the public's and media's predisposition to hold parents accountable for failure to shield their children from entertainment industry predators. She asked a series of rhetorical questions to underline the difficulties parents face. The media or the company usually blames a parent. What did you know? View them as much as you like. Going ahead. Though, what are your choices? Bring a 16 or 17-year-old along to every single party and every single movie. Judy underlined that the risks are not always clear-cut and that predators might exploit supposedly safe conditions. She showed this using a fictional case. That holds true as well on stage. Suppose a producer wants to check lines from the trailer. The situation is pretty challenging. Her comments draw attention to the challenge of constantly watching a child, especially one employed in an industry where adults and young people sometimes cross paths in private or semi-private settings. She noted that the incident at Brassia's place happened when Corey went to play pool with a bunch of guys, a situation that would not ordinarily cause a parent tremendous worry. Judy underlined, though, one day this is what happened to him. Her remarks suggest that no level of awareness can totally protect a child from harm in an environment where abuse could be widespread and hidden behind closed doors. Judy Haim underscored the underlying reasons for keeping her son quiet when asked why he never revealed the assault. She stated Corey hid it for so long since he didn't want to talk about it. Common among survivors of sexual assault, this resistance is typical of their great fear of criticism, disbelief, or further victimizing. Judy continued on the concerns her son went through, stating he wanted others not to assume he was gay or assign blame to him. This remark sums up well the enormous stigma surrounding male victims of sexual assault. Corey hated being mislabeled or having his experience reduced in a society that regularly brushes away or misinterprets the victimization of boys and men. Combining the urge to meet traditional conceptions of masculinity with the stigma of male sexual assault helps to explain Corey's silence. Judy recalled a conversation in which Corey indicated he wanted to keep the trauma secret. "Mom," he answered, "somebody offended me. I have no need to hurt them back. I have to bring this to my tomb." This quotation catches Corey's inner struggle and his response to being able to carry the weight by himself. For many survivors who struggle with whether or not to come out, misinterpretation reflects a harsh reality and will either lead to justice or further pain. For Corey, the shame and worry over public attention seemed to overwhelm the benefits of telling his story. Judy Haim also talked about the emotional weight Corey carried from his ordeal. She said, summarizing the trauma survivors go through, "The recollection of the event must be horrible. Apart from the acute trauma, survivors often struggle with complex guilt and humiliation." Judy considered the challenges Corey ran against, then the guilt and the shame. What else people would believe? That is awful. Judy pointed out that although society encourages victims to speak up, reality is far more complicated even if they should confide in a parent, teacher, or social worker. She remarked, "It's not straightforward. Social pressure to move on, or get over it, can quiet survivors even more, and encourage the negative belief that they are somehow responsible for their abuse, or that their grief is invalid." Without restraint, Judy Haim talked about Dominic Brassia, whom she believes to have abused her son. When asked what she would say to Bracia right now, she spoke straightforwardly and without concession. "Allow us to know," saying, "You know the truth." She counseled him to own his actions. "You conducted what you did." Judy's petition calls for justice for her son as much as it addresses future damage. She hoped Bracia hadn't abused others. Thus, she advised her to act morally for others. Her petition not only reflects her greater concern for the protection of possible victims, but also her demand for accountability and healing. Judy Haim became quite depressed about letting Corey pick a job in Hollywood when she considered her son's life. She presented her assessment plain forward. "Had I gone back and done it all over again, I most certainly would not have let Haim pursue a career in Hollywood." She saw her kid, instead, leading a new life far removed from the pressures and dangers of the entertainment industry. She said he would have been in Toronto, in school, hockey playing as he loved among pals. Judy's remarks reveal a profound contempt with Hollywood, which she described as a scene unfit for young performers. Children should be involved in acting under conditions that give their safety and well-being top attention, she argued. It is not a smart idea to include these little toddlers in Hollywood films. Summer is the season to do it. Let them off for their study. See Hollywood not at all. This mindset captures the need for structural changes in the industry to enhance the protection from exploitation and abuse of young players. Judy Haim revealed a real yearning for her son's memory apart from her pursuit of justice. She bemoaned how events have overshadowed Corey's existence and discussed him as a decent youngster with extraordinary ability, emphasizing that Corey was more than just the sum of his suffering. Many people who knew him understood his heart. Judy wants her son's story to be honored, and that he might at last rest in peace, free from the ongoing scrutiny and suspicion. Another person's job is not to assert he was raped. Her remarks, "That's a disgrace," as reflect a mother's urge to protect her child's dignity even in death and appeal for empathy toward victims of abuse. Feldman's friendship with Michael Jackson. Feldman's reports of Haim's mistreatment differ greatly from Judy, Haim's mother's story, therefore generating a clear discrepancy in their interpretations of events. Feldman's involvement with another contentious person, Michael Jackson, complicates knowledge of Feldman's viewpoint on mentoring and abuse in the entertainment business. Childhood star Feldman met Jackson, and they grew close during his early and adolescent years. Feldman regularly writes in his biography, choreography, and various interviews of his pleasant experiences with Jackson. He remarked about how enjoyable and consoling time with Jackson was. Strange as it sounds, Michael Jackson's world had turned into my happy place. It felt like being 10 years old once more when I was with Michael. Feldman's description of his friendship with Jackson runs quite opposite from the mistreatment he has personally experienced in Hollywood. Feldman has been upfront about the sexual assault he endured at the hands of other business leaders, but he has always maintained that Jackson never touched him or behaved inappropriately. During a turbulent time, Feldman said Jackson was a safe refuge who brought normalcy and friendship. Feldman's respect for Jackson seems derived from sincere thanks and happy early memories. Though he presented a good picture, Feldman's connection with Jackson broke off in 2001. Feldman claims the split started because Jackson mistakenly thought Feldman would present him poorly in a forthcoming book. Their relationship suffered from this miscommunication. Feldman felt abandoned and betrayed. Jackson claimed that although he did not receive the same assistance, on September 11, 2001, Jackson went out of his way to assist friends including Marlon Brando, Elizabeth Taylor, and Liza Minnelli departed New York City. Reiterating the song Megaloman, which had pointed lyrics aimed at Jackson, Feldman answered this perceived offense by, "I loved you, Megaloman. I believed in your words and falsehoods, yet in September in New York, you left me to die." This song and Feldman's story of their friendship's ending capture sentiments of mistrust and disappointment with someone he once considered a mentor. This falling out could have affected Feldman's later thoughts on his connection with Jackson, particularly considering fresh accusations against Jackson. Feldman was subpoenaed to testify against Michael Jackson in February 2005 during his well-reported child molesting trial, though he finally did not testify. The event caused him to rethink his connection with Jackson. Feldman said, I started looking at each piece of information, and with that came this terrible realization that there have been many occurrences in my life and in my relationship with Michael that have created a question of doubt. Feldman insisted that Jackson never harassed him, but he did remember an event from when he was around 13 or 14 years old that caused him a change of view as an adult. Feldman related that Jackson once showed him a book on sexual diseases and genitalia, an act Feldman later saw as inappropriate. An adult thinking back on this incident, Feldman thought Jackson's actions dubious, but he also said Jackson might have been trying to be parental to him given Feldman lacked direction at the time. This subtle meditation captures Feldman's inner struggle over his friendship with Jackson and the complex legacy Jackson left behind. Feldman chose to remember Jackson after his death in 2009, despite the complexity and consequent backlash. He dedicated a Los Angeles hospital event to Jackson, including his rock group, Truth Movement. This gesture of dedication implies that Jackson still retained a place of respect or sentimental significance in Feldman's heart despite their differences and Feldman's conflicted opinions regarding certain of Jackson's activities. Over the years, Corey Feldman's public posture on Michael Jackson and the molestation charges against him has changed. Feldman first defended Jackson, stressing that he never behaved inappropriately with him and suggesting that charges against him fit a larger campaign to deflect Feldman's allegations about Hollywood mistreatment. But Feldman showed mixed emotions following the 2019 premiere of the Leaving Neverland documentary. Although he first attacked the documentary as one-sided, he then said he could defend Jackson since he understood the need to treat abuse claims seriously. Nevertheless, Feldman underlined that his personal interactions with Jackson were good and honest, stressing his trouble matching his memories with the accusations directed at Jackson. Reflecting the difficult emotions and ethical questions inherent when facing accusations against a former friend, Feldman's changing perspective shows his effort to combine personal allegiance to Jackson with his compassion for abuse victims. With both brightness and shadow, Feldman's trip through Hollywood provides a very intimate view of the difficulties of mentoring, friendship, and survival in a profession rife with obstacles. His changing opinions on celebrities like Michael Jackson underline the need to support the truth, no matter how challenging, and the challenges in balancing the past with fresh disclosures. Speaking of facing the truth, make sure you do not miss our next video if you wish to see another great celebrity meeting.